It's been officially 1 year since Elden Ring released. And it feels kinda crazy to say that, since it feels like the game only just recently came out and shocked the world with its boldness. And in truth, it still is shaking the gaming industry. Elden Ring is a once-in-a-lifetime game that perfects combat and exploration like it's never been done before. As of a recent tweet from FromSoftware, Elden Ring has now successfully passed over 20 million sales, which is staggering to think about. But what was it about this game that made it stand out so much, and sweep praise across the whole gaming sphere? And so today I'll be discussing its numerous successes and why it has risen to become one of the greatest games ever made. The visuals in this world is easily one of the most amazing parts of the game. Its approach is vastly different from most other games in the market that go for a more hyper-realistic look. While Elden Ring does have its roots in reality, it is never afraid to lead into its mystical setting and create some monumental locations and kingdoms. And you can see this detail in the architecture alone, with every building in the game being filled with its own history and style that brings the world together in a vastly creative way. Another part of the visuals that adds life to the game is its use of colors. Elden Ring is one of the most vibrant games I've ever seen, and it uses its colors to create whole new atmospheres for areas. Taking a look at Caelid and Lindale for a moment, Caelid is filled with an abundance of red and dark colors, while Lindale is primarily gold and orange. These colors are used to reflect the state of the area, Lindale's gold to show the glory of the capital, and Caelid's reds to show the depravity of the state of the world in that region. Each color palette makes each area become memorable in its own aesthetic and stand out as a unique area to explore. The exploration in this game is also second to none. The world urges you to explore it without ever forcing you. This is due to how the game's progression and how its world is mapped out, from the caves to the small castles to the entire kingdoms. Your exploration never goes unrewarded as you get new weapons or other such items. A few of these journeys of curiosity can take you to entirely new areas and legacy dungeons, which motivate players to explore further. It kind of reminds me a bit of how I felt playing Breath of the Wild for the first time, where any location that piqued my interest was reachable. This is much the same with Elden Ring, whereas an interesting landmark in your sight is always a journey worth exploring. Of the numerous things this game does right, it is paramount that the combat feels fresh, yet familiar, and Elden Ring nails that. FromSoftware brings back ideas from their old games and twists them into something completely new to allow for more creative play. From a new magic system to jump attacks to the wondrous physique. And even the new Ashes of War breathe life into the FromSoftware formula and adds to every enemy encounter. Every weapon, skill, and build feels so viable, with no one enemy or boss being too overpowering for any of them. Every single build has advantages and disadvantages that keep the game fresh regardless of how you play. Of course, you cannot talk about Elden Ring without talking about just how amazing the bosses are in this game. As worded by the amazing Moist Critical,
the boss design in this game is the best in the series. Every boss played like Nameless King, so it was a challenge.
All the main bosses are incredibly unique in their moveset and presentation. The boss arenas on their own are top-notch and some of the best in the series, with such amazing visual spectacles to duel in. Every boss is given such a wide range of options to deal with you and your spacing, leading to some extremely engaging fights. While the increased aggression can seem frustrating at first, I found the change to be incredibly fun. Instead of FromSoftware's regular turn-ish based combat system where you wait for the boss to finish their attack before you make a move, you are now finding holes and gaps in the boss's attack strings, which make you feel like you are constantly brushing against death and barely scraping by. Every boss's unique story carries into their movement and their attacks, making each one feel distinct and unique. Radahn is a great example of this. He has a vast arena since you can fight him with a multitude of summons. His attacks have a wide and ferocious feel as he's been driven mad by Millennia's Rot. His gravity magic comes from his loyalty to his horse and wanting to ride him even as he got bigger. He's also known for holding back the stars, and thus when you bring him to his second phase, not only does he fly up and crash back to the ground, but when he does, the time switches from day to night, as if he brought our own star down with him to fight. And this sort of analysis can be brought to any of the bosses with a great effect, not to mention just how challenging all these bosses are. Fighting them without summons brings the level of challenge to another level and makes every fight feel memorable. I'm far from a master of this game's lore, but I do deeply appreciate how it ties the whole world together. From where you find groups of enemies on the map, how they fight, or even where they are, all these elements are symbolic of their story and their allegiance. A tree sentinel can be found to destroy your motivation just outside the very first opening minutes of the game, and only later can be found again in its hometown of Lindale in the capital. It is from these two encounters that you get an idea of what kind of kingdom Lindale is and just how far they'll go to keep their kingdom safe. And all this is told to you without the need for long cutscenes or dialogue. Each group has its own icons, rules, and restrictions that gives you a sense of the people's stories completely through the gameplay and how they interact. And of course, the music is simply outstanding for this game. It is one of the first FromSoftware games to have ambient tracks, and they all fit the aesthetic of the different places that you explore, from the inviting tombs of Limgrave to the chilling and mystical tombs of the concentrated snowfields. And of course, the boss fights, both major and minor, are given some truly spectacular tracks to accompany their amazing fights. The Godskins and Knights Cavalry both have music fitting of their roles, just as much as major bosses like Godfrey or Melania. Elden Ring flourishes not just in its difficulty, but through all aspects of its gameplay and world coming together to create a truly immersive experience. The way FromSoftware adapts their ideas from their previous games make Elden Ring feel like a true evolution in the genre. The way they bring inspiration from other series like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, and even Berserk also helps make it feel like a true passion project from a company that really does care about their games. I've been in the game 6 times and platinumed it, and yet I still find myself coming back to enjoy this wonderful game and world. Elden Ring is truly one of those once-in-a-lifetime games that come in the perfect time of your life to make an impact. This year was genuinely made special, and it's because of Elden Ring, and I cannot wait to see what more they do with this game. And with that, my friends, thank you so much for joining me today. Please let me know your own stories and journeys through Elden Ring in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and please enjoy another year of Elden Ring.